Perfect. First, I'd like to say thank you to Hashem that I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so I don't speak Yiddish very well. Thank you, Hashem, for Cleveland. That's the first time anyone ever said that. Cleveland's good. I want to thank the drivers who drove, made sure there was a Sefer Torah. Klal Yisrael understands that Ruchnius, when Ruchnius is missing, there's a chance for a machla to spread. But kol machla shasamti b'Mitzrayim lo yosim alecho ki ani Hashem roifecha. Hashem says, I'm the doctor. I'm the doctor for cancer. I'm the doctor for heart attacks. And I'm the doctor for COVID. So I'm going to tell the organizers a little secret. It's a funny secret. Maybe not so funny. I got a call. Will I come and speak at this event? Of course, you never know where the other person is when you call them. Sometimes you call them and they just answer and you don't know. So I want to tell you where I was when you called. When you called to ask me to speak, I was in the emergency room. You see, I got corona and it affected my heart. It did. I'm working with cardiologists to try. But I had a major episode, and I had to be rushed to the hospital, and I was on the bed when I got the phone call. My son was sitting next to me, and I didn't put it to my ear. I had tubes and this and that. So I put it on speaker, and they said, will you speak? Thank you, Hashem. I said, of course. So I put the phone down, and my son turns to me and says, you're in the emergency room for a heart. I lost the mic. It's working? Okay. He said, how could it be that you say yes? I said, you know what thank you means? I'll call neshima uneshima. Every beat of our heart, every breath in our lungs, every time we could hear beautiful music, every time we could bring home a paycheck, every time we could digest food and go to the bathroom, we need to say thank you and not take it for granted. You see, there are times that saying thank you is easy. We've got good 2-inch steaks here. A 2-inch steak, you have to say thank you. It tastes good, make a good bracha. But sometimes it's hard to say thank you. Sometimes you're not sure if you're going to see nachas from the kinderlach. You're not sure if you're going to keep your job. Sometimes you're not sure, and you feel shaky. My wife told me yesterday, I told her I'm speaking here. She said, I want to tell you what I learned. Maybe you want to say it. And of course I said, I want to say it. She said, I learned that you say thank you for the good outcome before the good outcome happens. You say thank you even before you know for sure if it's going to happen. That's what thank you means. It means I have so much akar satoiv. It's hard to do that. I want to tell you a true story, an incredible story. I told it to my wife today, and she broke down in tears. It was in Poland, and they were taking the Yidden to concentration camps from the ghettos. And if any of you have not been to a ghetto, if you've not been to Warsaw, or to Krakow, or to Auschwitz, or Treblinka, go. Say, Kemol Rachamim. Thank Hashem that you're a nace, that you're here eating steak when so many didn't. Akol Neshima Neshima. So at one of the stops where the Yidden deboarded the trains, there were a bunch of Polish citizens who were watching. They were watching with morbid curiosity. And they saw these poor Yidden starving and filthy and dehydrated. And at this point, the Nazis, with their guard dogs, pulled the Yidden off of the train and then turned to the Polish citizens who were nearby from the village and said, listen, anything that any of the Yidden have, you're going to take it. We don't need it. We have nowhere to store it.
And believe me, the Jews, they're not going to need it where they're going. And there was a lady there, and she had a big, beautiful fur coat. And there were two Polish goites. And these Polish goites, they saw the lady with the fur coat, and they said, wow, we're going to take her coat. And they both ran together at the same time, and they smashed this lady to the ground. They ripped the coat off of her body, and they took it away. And then they were excited because the coat felt heavy. They said, wow, not only are we going to get a nice fur coat, but apparently the Jews put jewelry in the coat, diamonds, expensive objects. And they began to put their hands in this fur coat. And sure enough, there was gold, there was silver. Wow, jackpot. And then after they had looted the pockets of the coat, they tried to move the coat, and they saw there was still something there. It was a little bit on the heavier side. They didn't expect it to be that heavy, so they looked around. Perhaps there's a secret pocket. And they found a secret pocket, an inside pocket, and there was something there. They put their hands in, and they found inside this pocket was the little baby girl. This Yiddish mama knew that they're going to grab the coat, and she thought, perhaps they'll have Rachmanis on my daughter. And one of these goites, she said, I never had children. I would love to take the child. You know what? You could take the coat. You could take the jewelry. Let me have the child. And the other goites, sure, I don't need another child. Take the Jew. I'll take the coat. I'll take the jewelry. And this goite, she brought up this little girl as a guy, called her Paula. And Paula grew up thinking she was really the daughter of this goite. And she was a wonderful child, attractive and smart and studious with derech eretz. Wow, what a great girl, what a great find. Eventually, Paula became a doctor. And after she became a doctor, a few years later, her mother passed away, or her goyish mother, the one who grabbed her, the one who brought her up. And a little while after that, as people were coming and they were paying their respects, an old lady comes into the house, and the old lady says, listen, Paula, I have to tell you something. She said, I want to tell you, as much as you love this lady and you owe her tremendous gratitude, but she's not really your mother. Let me tell you the story. And she told her the story, and she said, I was that other lady. I took the coat. I took the jewelry, but you're really a Jew. And Paula said, impossible. That's my mother. I know. I grew up with her. Impossible. This old lady said, it is true. I will even tell you that when we found you, you had a little pendant necklace that had a Star of David with words on it. I bet your mother still has it somewhere. Look through her belongings. And they went through all of her belongings, and sure enough, they found this little Magen David with writing on it. So Paula realized, I'm actually Jewish. Now, she didn't plan on being Jewish, but she said, at least I have got a connection. She took the necklace. She made the chain of the necklace a little bit bigger so that she could wear it as an adult. And secretly, she had pride that she comes from Jews, even though she didn't look at herself as Jewish. A few years later, she is traveling abroad. She's on vacation. And she passes in the street these two young men, Lubavitcher Hasidim, and they were putting tefillin on people, stopping them in the streets. So Dr. Paula, she says, okay, I want to show you something. I want to tell you a story. I don't know what to do with it, but look, I always wear this. It's a Star of David. I don't know what it says on it. So right away, these two Bachrim said, it says a name. It's probably your name. She says, what should I do? Am I Jewish? Am I not Jewish? They said, we don't know. We don't know. We can't tell you. But maybe you'll write a letter to the Rebbe. he'll say. So they wrote a letter. She wrote a letter that day. Paula wrote a letter, and she got a letter back from the Rebbe. And the letter said the following. The letter said, you are Jewish. And because you're a doctor, she was a pediatrician. Eretz Yisrael could use pediatricians. Connect to your Judaism. Go to Israel. Move to Israel. That's what the Rebbe advised Paula, Dr. Paula. She thought about it and she decided, you know what? I'm going to jump. I'm going to leap. And she moved to Eretz Yisrael. And she got a job in an Israeli hospital in Yerushalayim. She even ended up marrying a Yid. She was Jewish. The Bez and Paskin, she was Jewish. And then came the 8th of August, 2001. For those of you that remember, there was a bombing in a pizza shop, Subaru pizza shop. I remember it very clearly. Lots of stories, lots of tragedy, lots of heartache. And the blood and the bodies of people. Madha, Magen David Adom came. And they took all sorts of people. They brought them to different hospitals, trying to help those whose lives were in danger, those who were dying, those who were bleeding out. And some of the patients, some of the victims that were brought to Dr. Paula's hospital, and she was there on call. And she was trying to treat one person to the next, clean off this person's blood, comfort this person. And an old man comes in, a very old man, and he's looking around and he's frantic. So Dr. Paula says, tell me, what is it? What are you looking for? He said, it's my granddaughter. I must find my granddaughter. What does she look like? She's a little girl. He tried to describe her. Then he said, she's got a little necklace with a Star of David, Magen David Adam. Magen David on it. And he and Dr. Paul, they went looking around, and finally they located the little girl. And Dr. Paula looks at the little girl and sees the Magen David and stops in her tracks. And she says, where did you get this from? Where did you get this from? I've seen this before. And this old man says, no, you couldn't have seen this before. Impossible. You see, I'm a goldsmith. And I only made 2 of these by hand for my 2 daughters. One who passed away in the Holocaust, and one who survived and then gave the necklace to the daughter. And Dr. Paula takes out her Magen David, and she looks at this older man, and she said, Ata Abba Shali, you're my father. This is a true story. There's so much to be learned. But I want to tell you what I take out of this story. This story is really one of tragedy. It involves a Holocaust. It involves people being sent to their death. It involves a bombing. There is so much that a person can say, Hashem, why? Why would you do this? And instead, at the end, if not for this and if not for that, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Dayenu that I was found. Dayenu I was in the coat. Dayenu I was brought up healthy. Dayenu I ended up bumping into these 2 bachim in the street. Thank you that I ended up moving to Israel. Thank you that I found my husband. Thank you that I found my father. Thank you, Hashem. It's what Yidden do. It's what we are. I think if we're misbeinen on how important it is to say thank you, our davening will become better. Our brachas with more kavana. Our hakaras hatoiv for every neshima uneshima that Hashem gives us will allow us to overcome the difficult times of parnasa, the difficult times of COVID. I'm not saying it's easy. Sometimes you have to think. That's why tefillah is called avodah. It's hard sometimes to say thank you. But the more grateful we are, the more hakaras hatov, the more we will see Hashem loves us. And for that, more than anything else, we say, Todah lakel, thank you so much, Hashem.